CTV News Channel. I'm Todd Vanderhayden. Good to have you with us. Our top story, the first phase of a peace plan to end the war in Gaza after 2 years has been agreed to by Israel and Hamas. We'll see if both sides are able to stick to the plan. It would see the release of about 20 Israeli hostages still being held by Hamas, as well as 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences. They would be released, as well as 1,700 Palestinian detainees who have been taken by Israel over the last 2 years. That is just the first phase. The World Food Programme says it is now making preparations to scale up its aid distribution, desperately needed due to the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza.
The World Food Programme will bring in the lifelines, and we are already scaling up. We have restarted the bakeries last Sunday. More than 100,000 bundles of fresh bread are being provided daily as we speak to families in Gaza. With access, we can bring in the supplies in big volume.
All right, here's what we're hearing. The deal between Israel and Hamas would include a list of prisoners to be released and maps for a first phase of Israeli withdrawal positions, in which the Israeli military would pull out of some but not all of Gaza. Eventually, of course, the tricky part, the challenging part, will be for Hamas to disarm, for Hamas to agree to not have any future role in the governing of the Palestinians longer term. And, of course, whether the Israelis will live up to their side of the bargain as well. Could see a minimum of 400 trucks of aid, though, being allowed to enter the Gaza Strip in the next couple of days, give or take. Let's go to Washington. Barbara Leaf is standing by. She's a former National Security Council Senior Director for the Middle East, former Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs, including under President Joe Biden. Good to have you with us, Barbara. Thanks for taking the time today.
Great to be here.
All right, your take on this deal, phase one, your expectations.
Well, Todd, it's a huge breakthrough, and I will say on the other hand, it's the easiest part of what's going to be an exceptionally hard and long road of negotiations. But there's no question that this is a huge psychological and political breakthrough. This will end the war by all accounts. It will help Israelis close an open wound, essentially, by having hostages, both living and deceased, returned to them. And it will begin the long, long road of recovery for 2 million Gazan Palestinians.
We know that Hamas has used those hostages, Barbara, as leverage. So by giving up the hostages, by releasing them, then what?
Well, Hamas has been squeezed and pressure played into a corner, and there were several factors here. One, with the shocking event of September 9th, which was the Israeli strike on Doha in an attempt to get at senior Hamas officials there, that reshuffled everything. That threw everything up into the air, as it were. And it galvanized the Arab countries, it galvanized Turkey, Pakistan, Indonesia into a common effort with the administration, and it galvanized President Trump himself, so that there was a pressure play that came to bear on both parties, but with Turkey at the negotiating table alongside Qatar and Egypt, Hamas was really cornered. So there are many other pieces which are going to be very difficult. Disarmament is probably the most important one right up front that is going to be a real wrestling match.
After Hamas gives up the hostages, assuming that happens, Barbara, what guarantee is there that Israel will abide by its part of the agreement?
Well, we are told that the U.S. has provided such guarantees. They may not be written, but they have been provided orally. I think it's also fair to say that President Trump has made a certain decision that he wants to see the war ended with finality. He has other ambitions related to Israel, Saudi Arabia, expanding the circle of normalizing countries, the Abraham Accord countries. That's going to be a tall order as well. But I think there will be sufficient pressure brought to bear on both parties that will help ensure, at least in the immediate term, no return to conflict.
I wonder how much credit you think the president deserves in terms of exerting pressure on both sides, really, to come to a deal.
Oh, he does. He does. That's clear. He waded into this personally. He used both public and private pressure quite effectively. That's very clear.
So what are you going to be watching for now in the days ahead, Barbara?
So the most important thing to my mind, okay, we see that there is going to be an opening up immediately of the apertures for assistance to go in. That's long overdue. That will begin to replenish the stores of food and other goods for Palestinians, which have been brought to the brink of starvation over these last months. However, there is a larger problem of complete anarchy, complete lawlessness in the Gaza Strip that has prevailed with increasing violence for the last more than a year. So the first order of business is to muster some kind of structure that begins to do very basic law and order and basic governance. You can't really expect UN and international NGOs to be the government. They can only do so much. So the speed with which these countries and the U.S. agree on the structures of governance and security, the degree to which that they move with speed to that will be a measure of the success, but also the legitimacy of such an undertaking, in my mind, rests very squarely on the degree to which Palestinians, especially from Gaza, are brought into these security and governance structures so that they are able to exercise agency on behalf of the public.
Barbara Leaf served as a senior director in the National Security Council in the United States, former Assistant Secretary of State, both under President Joe Biden. Barbara, wonderful to have you with us here in Canada. Great to get your insights,
Thank you so much.
Tap into your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.